You might have heard me talking about alcohol cravings in the past, and in fact, I've shared some videos that will help you learn how to overcome a craving really, really easily. But recently, I've realized something, and I feel like it's a bit of a breakthrough that's hopefully going to help lots of people navigate their way through those challenging cravings for alcohol when they strike. I'm Simon Chapple, I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach and the author of the Sober Survival Guide and the book How to Quit Alcohol in 50 Days. I run this YouTube channel for anyone who wants to change their relationship with alcohol. So make sure you subscribe. There's a red button on the screen. Simply click that and the bell icon and you'll be notified every time there's a new video. I'd love you to be part of my YouTube community. Make sure you comment and share whatever is coming up for you in the comments below. I read every comment and I respond to them all. You can also join my stop drinking program. You can try it totally free for 14 days. If you need help quitting drinking, that is the place to go. The website address is on the screen right now. So let's talk about cravings. Cravings can put people right back to day one after they've stopped drinking. They can seem so powerful, so overwhelming that we just don't know what to do. We think alcohol is going to be the only solution, the only thing that is going to take away these overwhelming, uncomfortable feelings. But there's another way. You can navigate your way through them. And I want to talk about why I believe there are two different types of cravings. And up until now, everybody in the sobriety community talks about cravings in a general sense. I've never heard anybody talk about the fact that there's actually two types of cravings. And because there's two types of cravings, there's two ways to navigate each of them. If you try using the wrong strategy to navigate your way through the wrong type of craving, then it's understandable that you're probably going to end up feeling really close to taking a drink or actually taking a drink and finding yourself back at day one, which is the last thing that we want to happen. So let's look at what those two types of cravings are. And make sure you leave a comment and tell me your experience of alcohol cravings. Can you relate to what I'm about to share? Does it make sense to you? Which of these two types of cravings have you experienced? Leave your comment below. I want to hear what you've got to say about this because I think it's absolutely true and it's something that I've never heard discussed before. Okay, so I've got my trusty whiteboard. Let's talk about these two different types of cravings. Now, the first type of craving is what I call the overwhelm. This craving is very similar to an anxiety panic attack. This is where we feel completely overtaken by that strong urge to have a drink. And you might have heard people talk about how cravings may only last for 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. This is the type of craving that can come out of nowhere, completely overwhelm you, and within that short space of time it tends to start fading away. It's the overwhelm craving. And what happens with this craving is that it's very similar to a panic attack. It's your fight or flight response activating. And what happens in that moment is that your brain senses some kind of threat or danger. You've used alcohol in the past to overcome those challenging feelings, and it tells you that you need to take a drink. That fight or flight response has kicked in, and that is your automatic default response. I need to drink. Your brain actually goes offline in those moments. You've gone offline. And when we go offline, it's no longer the rational version of us that is in control. Now, that whole process, that release of stress chemicals lasts for about 6 seconds. However, the reaction that follows can last obviously for a longer period. It could be 15 to 20 minutes. And then we're battling with this feeling of absolute overwhelm. So know that that's what I would like to call an overwhelm style craving. It's an overwhelming craving. It comes, it passes. You've gone offline. The rational version of you is no longer in control. The solution for this, because you're no longer rational, is that you need to buy time to allow the rational version of you to return. You have to buy yourself time. I'm just going to write that down. Buy time. This is the solution, because think about it. Has the rational version of you the you that knows that you want to stop drinking, have they ever taken a drink? The one that understands that an alcohol-free life is actually better? I would say probably not. It's the irrational version of you that takes a drink. Know that when you go offline with an overwhelmed craving, that is the irrational version of you that's taken over. You need to buy some time. It doesn't take long for the rational version to get back in control. So think about it as though the irrational part of your brain is online and activated, the rational part has gone offline. And just like when a computer loses its internet connection, you need to give yourself a reboot. You need to give it a little bit of time to restart, and the rational part of your brain will kick back in, and you'll find yourself back in a place where you know that drinking is not going to benefit your life in any kind of positive way. So that is an overwhelmed craving, and they are very strong, very, very powerful. They can come out of nowhere, but often there's also a trigger for them. You may have seen something or been to a place, in a situation, or in contact with a particular person that triggered the overwhelming craving. So they don't always just come out of the blue, but because they're so powerful, they can feel like they come out of the blue. The second type of craving, and as I say, I've never heard anybody share the fact that there are actually two different types of alcohol craving. So this is really, really important stuff, and you won't hear this anywhere else. So we have the overwhelm craving. The second type is the low level craving. Now, the low level craving, unlike the overwhelm, this one can stay around for a long time. It can stick with you for hours and hours. For some people, it might even last for the entire day. And it's low level. It's not an overwhelming response that feels something like a panic attack or an anxiety attack. This one kind of sits in the background, annoying you. And it's rather like a repetitive thought. Repetitive thought that just keeps going round and round in your head, telling you that alcohol's what you need. Wouldn't it be nice to drink later? A drink will take away all those uncomfortable feelings. Or maybe it's a sense of reward, a sense of celebration, commiseration, whatever it may be. The low level craving hangs around like a bad smell. And to get rid of the low level craving, buying yourself time is not going to get rid of it. Buying yourself time is just going to make it more uncomfortable, because this craving is more of a thought. It's a thought craving. And what we resist persists when it comes to thoughts. If you try and push this craving away, it's probably going to expand and get bigger. So it makes sense to have a strategy for dealing with these cravings. Now, you could watch the video, and there should be a link to it above my head right now, which gives you some tactics for dealing with exactly this type of craving, the low level craving. If you get to a point where you're actually deciding that drinking is going to be a good idea. But ahead of that, this is the craving where I believe you need to actually think about how you really feel in that moment. And you need to get really, really specific. And this can be a challenge. So how do you feel? That is the question you've got to ask yourself. How do you feel in that moment? And maybe you start by saying you feel sad, or maybe you'll feel angry, whatever it might be. You've got to go deeper than that. If you want to get rid of this low level craving, you've got to take it a bit deeper. So let's say I feel angry. Actually, it was an argument with my partner that made me feel angry. She just wasn't listening to me. I was trying to explain something and she just snapped at me and made me feel as though she just wasn't interested in what I had to say. So although I'm feeling angry, the actual real feeling is one of being unheard. That's how I feel, unheard. And you can use the emotion wheel that's on the screen right now to get really, really clear on how you feel. It's so important not to just stop at the top line type of feeling or emotion. You need to take it a bit deeper, and I'll explain exactly why. So use the emotion wheel. it's a great idea to save the image. Just Google it and you can put one on your phone, on your lock screen, so that you've got it at all times, and keep checking in on yourself around how you actually feel. So let's say I feel unheard. It started as anger and it now is unheard, because that's how I really feel. And that's the important point. Once you know how you really feel, you need to understand what the opposite of that is. So if it was unheard, then I probably need somebody who's going to listen to me, somebody who I can talk to, somebody who I can connect with and share. The opposite of unheard is heard, being listened to. So maybe I need to contact one of my friends and meet for a coffee and talk through whatever's been troubling me, whatever's on my mind, because I need to be heard. So always find what the specific emotion is. Go to the opposite of the emotion, because that's what you really need in that moment. It's not alcohol. Alcohol is not going to help you. You can watch all of my other videos if you want to find out why it doesn't help you and what we gain when we stop drinking. But it is not going to help you. It's not going to solve any of these problems. Instead, when we have a low level recurring craving that just won't seem to go away, we need to get clear on how we really feel, understand what the opposite is, and then do the opposite. That is what we really need in that moment. And this particular craving is all about inviting us to meet our needs. We just need to know what they are. And this gives you a foolproof way of finding that out. So we have the overwhelming craving, the powerful, strong craving that just seems to take you over and can feel sometimes like it comes out of nowhere. And the low-level craving that seems to hang around like a bad smell and it just won't go away, and it's there for the entire day or for hours on end, and it just wants to disrupt your life, and it's so bothersome that actually taking a drink can seem like the most sensible and easy option. It's not. It's absolutely not. Once you've gone through a few of these cravings, they won't come so often. You start to claim back the power. You start to notice how the energy has been removed from them. After you've navigated your way, even through the first one, you realize that you absolutely can. And I think that's one of the most important things for dealing with cravings, is getting through the first one. Once you've got through the first one, you know that you have the strength to do it, the ability to do it. They start to come less frequently. They start to be less powerful. And actually, when you get to 2 to 3 months alcohol free, they're few and far between. You might have a couple of them every week. When you find yourself at 4 to 6 months without alcohol, you're probably rarely having any sort of craving to drink. And after a year of being alcohol free, you're probably not ever having any cravings. So make sure you remind yourself that cravings are going to be their most frequent and the most powerful in the first 1 to 3 weeks. That's the point when we need to be ready for these. But you don't want to keep going back to the beginning and doing the hardest part over and over again. So there might be times when you need a bit of willpower, when you need to dig your heels in, and when you need to draw on your own inner strength to get through whatever gets thrown at you. But you can do it. And hopefully understanding that there's 2 different types of cravings will help you ensure that you're fully set for success and you can navigate anything that comes up in your alcohol-free journey. Remember, subscribe to the channel, hit the red button on the screen now, and you'll get notified every time there's a new video. And do leave a comment. I want to hear what you've got to say about the topic of there being 2 types of cravings for alcohol.